Second is know your competitor, right? Competitive research, pretty simple. We SWOT all of our competitors, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. What's strong about them? What's weak about them? What's their biggest opportunity or our biggest opportunity to seize on them? And what should their biggest threat be? How can we attack them, right? It's warfare. Don't get it wrong. Competitive research is warfare. You don't play nice. You go after them to kill. You go after the throat. I put the nicest little old lady out of business in the candle business. After 10 months, when I was in the candle supply business, Mal Barker, 36 years in business, called and told me, I just want to tell you that you won. I'm closing my door after 36 years. So you got anything you want to sell, old lady? I didn't say that. But I did. We put her out of business in 10 months. And I feel bad about that, kind of. But it's time for her to go. Number two, know your competitors, right? By the way, we'll go through. Does anybody want to hot seat their market? If you do, let Deanna know over here, and I'll have a couple people up, and we'll actually live research and hot seat your market setting here if you want to do that. So know your competitors. So this has kind of gotten so freaking easy, right? Almost everything's on Amazon. If you're selling a course, look at the books on Amazon, right? If you're selling a product, chances are a product competitor of yours is selling on Amazon. This is so simple. I print out all these things, these reviews. I print out my competitors' sales letters, and I use 3 markers. I'll highlight what I hate in red, what I love in green, and what's kind of okay in yellow. And after I go through the top 3 or 4 competitors in the market, figuring out what everybody does well and what everybody does poorly, I do more of the good stuff and less of the bad stuff. And I get a better offer. So to give you an example, when we were in the bath bomb business, everybody said basically the same things. The good ones had a lot of scent, lasted a long time, were bigger, right? The ones that really weren't, would not recommend that if you're accustomed to using Lush, right? Everybody wants Lush. They don't smell as nice. They're not as big. They're not refreshing. They sink to the bottom. My tub was only about half full. You couldn't smell anything. So when you look at the complaints here, everything was about not having enough fragrance and the fizz not lasting long enough. That's what they wanted, right? So how do we address that? We doubled the size of the bath bomb. We sold a jumbo bath bomb with twice the scent, twice the size, that lasted twice as long, right? Super simple, super easy, but that's all you need to do. Go through your other competitor sales letters. And you know what you'll find out, by the way, by doing that? You'll gain tons of confidence because they all are so amazingly shitty. They're all just freaking terrible. And they do the dumbest things, right? As you go through other people's offers, you'll just find, my God, man, they hide the buy button. They make it blend in. They make it hard to buy. The people that put a CAPTCHA on an order form are the dumbest motherfuckers that ever lived. I've never seen anything like it. Here, I'm going to CAPTCHA my order form. Let's make it a little harder for you to buy.
Make the font like 0.8.
Yeah, make the font tiny. We use big font ourselves. Yeah, you get a good point. All the things that they do wrong that are really simple to correct, but just be a critic. Everybody can be a critic, right? Go through and be a critic of all your competitors. You look at, it's pretty crazy. I show this in another slide. I should have showed it here in product development. Jeremy does a lot of product development work for us. But it was 19 years after the first cell phone before Steve Jobs brought out the iPhone. 19 years, right? And how did he do? Pretty well, right? Pretty well. Because he took away all the shit everybody hated and kept all the shit that everybody loved. It's pretty simple. Know your position, number 3. Market positioning is a big deal. Somebody said I skipped tone earlier, and I did skip tone. I'll go back to that in a second. Remind me if I skip it again. Know your position in the market. So this is an example of a positioning chart from the Body Shop. I don't know if you all know the Body Shop, but the Body Shop creates these really nice bath and body products, but in very basic containers. And their pitch is, we put all the money into the ingredients. We have better ingredients, not prettier bottles, right? Really cool, radical approach, right? Something very, at the time, was very new. They were a rocket shot out of the bottle. They just came out like a bottle rocket. They were huge. Because you look at the different qualifications, they wanted to create a blue ocean strategy, be different than competition. So what's the price of most cosmetics? Pretty high. Theirs was pretty low. How much do cosmetic companies spend in packaging and advertising? A ton. How much do they spend? Almost nothing, right? How much of cosmetics are high-end, high-tech science? At the time, L'Oreal, all those guys, almost 100%. They'd have ingredients on the back of the bottle this long you couldn't read. What do they do? 2, 3 ingredients in a product. Very, very basic. How's the image, right? The cosmetics companies used beautiful models. The Body Shop used average-looking girl next door models. Natural ingredients, the cosmetics industry had almost none. Body Shop used 100%. And a representation of healthy living, the cosmetics industry hadn't even entered that at all at the time they came into the market. So when you're setting your position, right, this is a flaw that a lot of marketers make. They say, ooh, so-and-so's doing that, I'm going to knock them off, right? You're probably going to make a little money for a little while. You're going to split the market for the other guy. You're probably not going to make as much as the market leader, right? But eventually enough people pile on, it's the crab in a bucket theory, right? They hunt crabs in the ocean, they just throw a bucket in the bottom of the ocean. Crabs fill up the bucket. Some of the crabs could crawl out, but they can't because the other crabs attach them and drag them back into the bucket. That's what happens in knockoff markets. Yes, ma'am.
22 laws, Mutable Laws of Marketing by Trout Reese. It's the quickest book you'll ever read.
22 rules. 22 immutable rules. I don't know how to spell that. Where's the microphone thingies? 22 immutable rules of marketing.
It'll take you about 20 minutes to read, but it goes into this positioning and, like, for example, you'd have like the law of authority, right? So who was the first individual to fly across the Atlantic? Would be Lindbergh, right? And who was the second? Who gives a shit?
Dude. Yeah, who gives a shit, right?
Right, who gives a shit? Now then you say, okay, but that's your business, so then what you do is you create a new category you can be number one in. So that would be who would be the first woman to go across, you know, on that, and that would be Amelia Earhart, right? And then you go the same thing, who was the second, you know, who gives a shit? And there's just these simple rules that you apply to this particular
Create
thing.
your own frame, right?
Yeah. Anyway,
Thank you.
go.
Yeah, so know your positioning. So when you're trying to figure out where you're going to enter the market with your product, from a research perspective, know your positioning. And then lastly, create your avatar, right? Who's your buyer? What do they look like? Where do they live? What do they read? You know, the primaries are age, sex, geographic, economic, and psychographic. So this is a basic customer avatar. Who has a customer avatar right here? Raise your hand if you have an avatar for your customer. Now, keep your hand up if you can yell out their name. Yeah, so if you put your hand down, you don't really have an avatar yet. You got to name them. What's yours name, Sal? Larry. Leisure Suit Larry. All right, I'm just kidding. Yeah, having a name, you know, we'll create an avatar, find a name that's within that era, and then I'll look up, I think I put it in your thing, I'll look up Allison's 38th birthday. And there'll be birthday photos, celebration photos that are candid, and that's where you can grab a picture. Now when you go to write, you've got a face and a name. Like I know that, what's your name again? George. George's is Brooke. So how old's Brooke? 37. This guy actually Ben knows his avatar better than just about anybody in the business that I know of. He can tell you pretty quick. But I went into, I'm going to use the word Brooke. I'll use Brooke. It wasn't Brooke, but I can't remember what it was now. First time I learned about avatars, I was selling stuff to department stores. And I went to pitch Sally's Beauty Supply in Denton, Texas. Big company, 1,500 stores. And I'm pitching the buyer, and the buyer's name's Lisa, and the other assistant buyer's name's Katie or whatever. And they're like, oh, yeah, I don't think Brooke would like that. Brooke would never put that on her skin. Brooke would never do this. Brooke would never that. Where the fuck's Brooke? Why am I not talking to her? Why am I talking to you two chicks, right? Brooke was the avatar. But they had rules. They had lanes set for her. They had a backstory for her. They knew what she wouldn't do. They knew what she would do, right? And when you do that, when you create this avatar and you stick it up in front of you when you go to write, your writing will be so much more pointed and so much more on point. You've got your vocabulary word cloud over to the side, you got your picture over here, and you're ready to write. It really makes a huge difference. And it's really good to write a little bio, underneath. So you can look here. This is Allison. She's 41. She's female. She's married. She has 2 kids, 8 and 5. She lives in San Francisco. She's a co-owner, founder of a luxury clothing brand. Combined income, household income, $1.7 million, a lot of money. Current business income, $450,000 a year. And then there's a little bio about her. They've been married for 17 years, have 2 kids, live in Hayes Valley, neighborhood of San Francisco, restored house, yada, 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 yada. She drives a Lexus RX hybrid, right? It's quite a little bit of information, right? Is that speculation? 100%, right? But speculation based on some data, right? So age is obvious, sex is obvious. Geography is typically, are they rural or are they urban? Because you typically talk to rural people differently than you do urban people. And you might talk to people in San Francisco considerably different than you talk to people in Dallas, right? A much different market. Some markets have certain nuances. What I hear they outlawed in San Francisco a couple of days ago that was just crazy. Smiling. Huh? What did they just outlaw in San Francisco a couple days ago? Something. Something else was really odd they outlawed. I can't remember. Oh, vapes. All vapes are outlawed in San Francisco now, just the last couple days. No, anything, nothing. No vapes, period. Whole city, even outdoors. Yeah, that's what they're saying. Yeah. Psychographics are more, what do they think about? What do they read? What do they watch? There's a company called Tower Data. Shit, I should have put that slide in here. So a company, if you don't know this stuff, by the way, here's how you get it. You take 100 or 1,000's better, but 100's fine. Take 100 of your buyers and you run them through Tower Data. It's going to cost you about 20 cents a buyer, that's all. Tower Data will come back and give you a report of, do they own a dog or a cat, what magazines they read, what are their hobbies that they're into, and you're going to see it by percentage on pie graphs. So you're going to see, for instance, in the survival space, my number one demographic, my number one avatar, my number one affinity market's cooking, second is DIY, third is gardening. So it's going to tell you your affinity market, it's going to tell you their political leanings, tell their average age, average income, what percentage are high net worth individuals, all that stuff for 20 freaking cents, right? So you can start building this profile there. That's where that data begins to come from, all right? And then I want to note on traffic source. This is another big qualifier when you're doing your research. All this can be kind of sort of skewed. All the research we've talked about earlier can be skewed based on your traffic source, right? Where are your people coming from? List selection is at least 60% of the success of any campaign. So if you're going out to if I'm selling water filters to a Rush Limbaugh list or water filters to an Ellen DeGeneres list, I'm going to have a very different message, right? Chances are maybe they both need water filters. They do, right? But that doesn't mean they're going to buy them in the same way. The list is going to really dictate the filter that I use, okay?